As a disc golf YouTuber, companies send me a ton of different discs to try out and review. And over the past 2.5 years of me playing tournaments, I've gotten to throw hundreds of different molds. But there's only a select few that are good enough to make my bag. So in today's video, we're gonna see what's in the bag of a 950 rated YouTuber. Let's get into it. First up, I'm putting with new putters again. I've switched back to the Lunas. This time I have CT Swirl Lunas. The reason I switched back to the Luna from the Pure is because these are more stable, and I noticed in the wind the Pures were not fading to the basket enough. So we're back to the Luna, and this CT plastic for me, super stiff. I love the grip on them. So I really feel like I can get a good spin out of my fingers. And these things look awesome. We've also got another Luna. This one is the Special Blend, super beat up, very warped, super understable throwing putter. I can put it on like 45 degrees of hyzer and it's still gonna turn over. I don't use it too much, but when I have a jump putt from about 80 feet, this thing will get to the basket. As opposed to those CT Lunas, they'll fade early. So it's useful to have in my bag still. Now for my throwing putters, I still have my favorite Big Z Luna. This Big Z Luna is more stable than other Lunas that I've thrown. Right now, I'm throwing this thing a ton. I've been throwing a lot more putters recently. Anything within 315 feet, really, straight ahead, wide open, I'll pull out this Luna, just pump it as hard as I can on hyzer. It'll flip up to flat and just fly dead straight at the basket. One of my favorite discs in my bag. And to complement that Luna, I have the new Kratos. This has quickly become one of my favorite molds. It's just a Luna mold with a bead, but when you're throwing it, you really can't feel the bead in your hand. It's just a more overstable Luna, so it's better in the wind, or if you really want a putter shot that fades to the left. It's not super overstable though, like this next mold, the Zone. This is what I reach to if I really need an overstable approach. This is my favorite mold of all time. I love the Zone. This one's an ESP plastic. It's been in my bag for a while now, and it's gotten beat in to be a lot straighter, so I really can rip on this, and it will go straight for a while. Any approach shot within, I'd say, 275 feet, I'll reach for this. And for my more overstable Zone, I've got one of these Adam Hammis Tour Series. These Jawbreaker Z Flex discs, I have a lot of them in my bag, you'll see. I just love this flex plastic, and this plastic runs more overstable, so it's perfect for my Zone when I really need it to fade hard to the right on a forehand, or when it's very windy out. I still reach for that ESP one more, but it's always good to have a complementary one that's a little bit more overstable. Now getting into the mid-ranges, these have not changed in the past 6 months. Still bagging the Meteor. I don't pull it out too much anymore, but it's still nice to have in there. Occasionally it comes out once every 3 rounds or so to pull off a nice big backhand turnover shot. Always great to have an understable mid-range in your bag, and it's a great disc. Next, we're moving into my hexes. I have 2 hexes. We have this Glow Hex right here, the Lazadal. This is the more overstable one, and it's my workhorse mid in my bag right now. If I have a shot that's within 330 feet, this is the first disc I'm reaching for. And then my other hex, my Anthony Bedanza Fission Hex, this one has been very beat in now. It's really starting to fly similar to my Meteor now. It might be time for this one to retire, honestly. Now for my favorite disc in my bag, my Axiom Pyro. This one has been in my bag, I'd say 1.5 years now, longer than any other disc in my bag. It does not fly like a Pyro anymore. This thing has been beat in to perfection. I can rip on this thing as hard as I want to, and it'll fly super dead straight for about 300 feet and then dump out at the end. And I just recently got an ace with it, my longest ace ever, 285 feet. I really hope I never have to lose this disc. And a disc that I didn't think I'd be putting in my bag, but I decided to do it anyway, is the new Discraft Swarm. I just made a video on this disc, and it is super overstable. It is basically a utility disc for me. I had the Zone OS in my bag, but I decided to put this in there instead because it is a little bit more usable. I have found a couple of holes where this is very useful for me, but not throwing it too much. Moving into the Fairway Drivers, this is where I made the biggest change in my bag. So first up, we have the Discraft Cicada as my most understable 7-speed, 7.6, -1.1. This thing flies dead straight. Put it on a lot of power and it'll turn over to the right. It feels like an Athena in my hand, but it flies like a beat-in Athena right out of the box, so I love it. And speaking of the Athena, we have 2 in my bag. This first one is one of the prototypes. It started off super overstable, but it's been thrown so much. Now it's a nice hyzer flip to flat disc with some finish at the end still. Huge shout out to my boy Jason Newman for giving me this disc. It's my favorite 7-speed in my bag, and it just looks so cool. And to complement that disc, I have a brand new ESP Athena. This one's super overstable. I love pulling out the Athena for those shots. I'd say, 300 to 350 feet. Especially this one, I can just put it on hyzer way out wide and it'll just crash back into the basket perfectly. Now moving on up to my 8 and 9 speeds, my most understable disc in my bag is this Z Glow Flex Heat. These plastic names are so weird. It's a Heat. Understable 9-speed, it does what you want. Hyzer flip machine, backhand turnovers, even a roller if you need it to. Now I know what y'all are thinking. Kyle, you just made an ozone video and you love that disc. And you're right. I did love that disc. And I wish it was still in my bag. But unfortunately, I hit a tree with this ozone and it warped it beyond repair. It does not fly anything like it used to. I really loved how this ozone flew, but rest in peace, it did not last very long. So I'm bagging the Heat again. I'm also bagging a Jawbreaker Z Flex Passion. I can throw this disc dead straight for about 400 feet if I put it on full power. I love how it flies. Just basically my Hex, but farther flying. It seems kind of redundant to have this in my bag as well as the Cicada, but this one will fly farther and it's not as understable, so I prefer to have both of them in my bag. Moving on into some more overstable discs, we have this Kevin Jones Feedback. This has been in my bag for over a year now. Doesn't fly like a Feedback should. It honestly flies a lot like that Passion. I can get a very similar flight out of it, but it still has a lot more finish at the end than the Passion does. And this one will fly farther. So much glide to it. I'm sad that we aren't going to be getting any more Feedbacks in the future. Hopefully Innova will pick up this mold and we can get some more. Could you imagine if we could get some Champ Glow Feedbacks or some Halo Feedbacks? That would be awesome. Speaking of Champ Glow, we've got this 2022 Nate Sexton Firebird. Any forehand shot between 300 and 350 feet, this is what I'm throwing. This Firebird's been in my bag for a while now, so it's getting a little beat in. Can put it on a ton of power on forehand, and actually I can get some turn out of this one now, so that's super nice. I love how this Color Glow Champ feels in my hand. Very gummy, and these Firebirds are super flat, not as overstable as your average Firebird, and that's why I love them. I also have another Firebird in my bag. This one's just a regular Champion Firebird. It has some more dome to it, which makes it a little bit more overstable, so it's a good complement to my Nate Sexton Firebird. I'll tend to throw this one more on backhand. And for my most overstable fairway driver, definitely a utility disc, I have this Captain's Raptor, also in Jawbreaker Z-Flex. Like I said, really love this plastic. Probably my most overstable disc in my bag. I don't throw it too much. I can chop on this on a forehand at about 45 degrees. Still come out of it every single time. But it's very useful, especially on those skip shots that you need to get around a corner or something. Can't go wrong with having a cap wrap in your bag. Now we're moving into the distance drivers. Well, I guess this one isn't really a distance driver. It's more of a control driver. It's a 10-speed, an ESP Vulture. This one has some dome to it, so it's more overstable than other Vultures I've thrown. And I love just having a 10-speed disc in my bag for those holes that are about 400 feet when I can't really get a fairway driver there, but I don't want to pull out a full distance driver. So I'll pull this out instead. I have so much more control with this disc than I do my other distance drivers. Doesn't have as much fade and it'll fly a lot straighter. I definitely want to try out some more 10 speeds though. So if you guys have any 10 speeds that you bag that I should try out, let me know. I've heard the Roman is good from Infinite Discs, so I might give that one a shot too. Now for my actual distance drivers. You guys have seen this disc. It's my old Star Wraith. This disc is, I don't know how old, 5 or 6 years old. Super, super flippy. I love this disc for huge, huge hyzer flip shots. I can put this thing on so much hyzer and I know it's going to flip up to flat every single time and still get some turn to it. Or if I need a big backhand turnover, about 420 feet, this is the disc I'm reaching for. So, so useful to have an understable distance driver in your bag. And now for my absolute bombers, I have 2 iBlend Emperors. These things go forever, I swear. My first one here is 169 grams, so it's a little bit lighter weight, more understable. I love to give this one a nice hyzer flip. It'll fly up to flat, get a little bit of turn to it, and then it will finish at the end still. Very, very good disc. And then this other one, a max weight, 175 grams. I can release this flat. It'll go for days. Got my longest throw ever with this at 458 feet, I believe. And it still comes back at the end every time. Reliable finish. If you've never thrown an Emperor before, I highly recommend it. They bomb. I'm not trying to be a salesman, by the way. I'm not sponsored by anyone and I don't make any money, but these are in my bag for a reason. Next up, more overstable, I have this ESP Zeus. I had an S-Blend Emperor in this slot, but it got a little bit too beat in and was flying too straight for me. So I found this Zeus, flies how I want it to. I use this disc mainly on forehands about 350 to 380 feet. I can just pump it as hard as I want flat, or even a little bit of Anheuser, and it'll just fly out there forever and then get a nice dump finish towards the basket at the end. It's not crazy overstable though. If you want crazy overstable, this 2021 Calvin Heimberg Halo Destroyer is what you need. I almost never throw it because of how overstable it is, but sometimes you just need a big chop forehand. And in the wind, this thing is a monster. As you all know, I'm sure you've all thrown a Calvin Heimberg Destroyer before, so I don't need to say too much else about it, but that's what's been in my bag for the 2024 season. Since March, I think I've been averaging about 975 rated disc golf, so I'm playing the best disc golf of my life right now. Got my first 1,000 rated round, feeling good, but we aren't done yet. Hope you guys learned something and enjoyed this in the bag. Let me know what you're bagging down in the comments below. I appreciate you all for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.